aerobatic team.
What particularly is the thing that gets you out here doing this? You know, it's not a normal hobby. I mean, it's a common hobby, but it's still a little extraordinary.
I think the reason that I come out and do air shows, which is what we do, is because the fun of the flying, and it's a little bit of show business, kind of the smell of the grease paint kind of thing. Once you've done a show, and if you do real well in a show, it's a tremendous feeling of accomplishment, because the maneuvers are difficult. We practice a lot, but when you go through them, depending on the winds and the day conditions, that sort of thing, if you do it well, you're very, very happy with yourself. So I think that's basically what it is.
Okay, what does it feel like to be up there and carrying out a successful maneuver with other planes around you and people screaming? It's exhilarating.
It's exhilarating, but it's very, very tough work. It probably doesn't look like it. You might have seen some of the Top Gun films or whatever, but when you're up there, things happen very fast. You're pulling a lot of G's, so there's a lot of stress on your body, and you're putting out maximum physical effort, and of course you're sweating a lot too.
And what type of speed would you be traveling when you pull off most of the maneuvers?
We maneuver between about from zero airspeed when we do a tail slide. Actually, we will go backwards when we come back down in the tail slide. So from a negative speed up to about 200 miles an hour is what we perform at, and we start most of our aerobatic formation maneuvers at about 180 miles an hour, and it varies as the maneuver progresses. You know, some a little bit less, some more.
Amen. Your affiliation with this organization?
My name's Bob Oliver, and myself and Don Madonna and Buzz Lynch comprise the Sierra Tahoe Aces. Sierra Tahoe Aces are a two-ship formation aerobatic team, and we feature the Pitts Special biplanes, which are behind us here, and they feature a 260 horsepower engine, symmetrical airfoil, inverted fuel and oil system. We fly the airplanes right side up and upside down, and accomplish about 28 unlimited maneuvers within a 17-minute time period. That consists of our routine.
How did you form? How did you guys get together?
We got together, the team actually formed nearly 5 years ago with a fellow that's no longer with the team. He left last year and is flying for another team. Don and Buzz both joined the team at the first of last year, and they got together because of the affiliation with the U.S. Air Force. They're both retired U.S. Air Force fighter pilots, and they have a great wealth of experience and knowledge and skill that they bring to the team, and perform as team members in the wingman position.
Could you specifically address a few of the things that you will be doing in the show that might be a bit more exciting, some of the real daredevil stunts that you might be taking part in?
Well, as I said, our formation routine takes about 17 minutes, and we start that off on our takeoff roll. We'll perform formation snap rolls, and then from there we'll continue to go through the routine performing loops, line abreast and in Vic formation, rolls, barrel rolls, tail slides, torque rolls, Cuban 8s, and a variety of other maneuvers.
Is there a degree of difficulty to this, or what's your practice like? Do you eliminate it through a lot of practice? Or?
We our season starts really in the early spring, and that's when we expend a great deal of time practicing for the upcoming season, and we'll spend quite a bit of time in the air, the pilots, of course, and during that time we'll of course sharpen our skills that have grown a little soft over the winter layover, and prepare ourselves for the show season, which for us starts in May. And so we do quite a bit of activity in the early spring area, and this basically sharpens us up and gets us closer together, and then we also start bringing the formation routine down. We start flying closer to the ground as we get more proficient. But we'll spend at least a month and a half flying together before we do our first show.
Do you have a favorite maneuver in the routine?
I think one of the favorite maneuvers that we do is a maneuver we call the Heart, and we dedicate this usually to someone associated with an air show or our sponsor. And it actually describes a heart in the sky, and it's both airplanes flying. We start the routine flying line abreast formation. We pull to the vertical, And then as we near the top of the vertical, both airplanes will do a quarter roll in opposite directions. We'll turn on the smoke, and then we'll pull the airplanes over the top and rejoin again at the bottom, and it describes a heart in the sky. And it's very nice, and it's one of my favorite maneuvers.
Tell me about your planes. What separates them from your average plane?
The planes that we fly, as I mentioned earlier, are Pitt Special biplanes, and they are primarily designed to do aerobatics. It's not a cross-country airplane, for example, that you take your family in and go someplace. The planes are basically designed as sport biplanes to do aerobatic maneuvers. And the airplanes that we have are sufficiently powered by 260 horsepower power plants that we can accomplish formation precision aerobatics in the airplanes quite simply, but with a great deal of practice, of course.
In the press release, they talk about you getting a bit close to the ground. Is there much of a danger element in this, and how close do you flirt with disaster?
Well, we actually don't even flirt with disaster. As I mentioned earlier, the purpose for our early spring practice is to eliminate or reduce the risk factor. And when we say that we fly close to the ground, that's exactly it. We do fly close to the ground. The airplanes are being flown down close to ground level and in close to the crowd within the FAA limitations that are existing here at the show. And we do that so that the crowd can see the aircraft and see the maneuvers that we're performing, because the airplanes are quite small. So we need to get them in fairly close and down fairly low for them to see them adequately.
A little higher, red pitch.